learn your own trick to actually tying a knot. So
I'm watching the new channel on my basic cable antenna, FNX, and watching indigenous people, I call them Native Americans, Indians, making a...
My director says, so I was going to cut it. Got a little excess, and sometimes it might be a little off.
Forgot what he's calling these.
I look from here and make sure
I'm Native American, and I don't even know how to do any of this.
Rotate it just a little bit, and I want to get these perfectly flush, because like I said, if it's off in any way, it'll actually stick up like this, or it'll stick that way when you actually interlace with all the feathers together. And it's a little off. Another cool trick is you can also use a screwdriver. This one has like a little stem. Is just stick that in there, kind of twist it, and it'll start to move. Now I got it perfectly flush the way I want it, and all I'm going to do, now I didn't actually have tacky glue. I prefer tacky glue. It's kind of in a brown bottle with some gold letters on it. I like that kind of glue, but today on the show I have Elmer's glue. And working here at the tribe, I had to go to Head Start, and I stole this from the Head Start when they weren't looking. I stole it from a kid that was eating it, but you know, it's better I use it than him. So all I'm gonna do, I don't really like to use the little tops. So I'm just gonna like douse my finger with it. And I imagine this tasted pretty good to that kid because he was gnawing on it. So all I'm gonna do is wet my finger, and we're just gonna like submerge it in the glue and wrap it around, and we're gonna let it like dry for a little bit. But you just want to get really, really saturated. Because like I said,
I even got a dream catcher.
And the glue will harden, and once it hardens, you know, it's gonna be perfect.
Do you realize I'm recording this show?
And we're almost done. From here on out, all we got to do is pierce the side of here, and then we're going to interlace it with some another thread. And what I like to do is actually put beads in here, just kind of space out the feathers. So here in this next segment, I'm going to show you how to do that.
Her phone autofocuses.
Now we have come to the most important part of bustle making.
Bustle. That's what they're called, bustles.
But I call it piercing. We're going to pierce the side of the feather and go all the way through it. Like I said, you know, this cool part from the style that I do it, as a lot of people like to jab, like, you know, dowels all the way.
Who else is watching this?
All the way through it, it's hollow. It's a
and my mom's phone's in Phoenix.
And a long time ago, I used to use a drill bit. You know, I used to go through it and drill it. I found that it weakens the feather, so I don't like to use that anymore. And that came from a lot of mistakes that I used to do. So I don't like to use any drill bits anymore, no drills or anything. I like to go old style and actually use an awl. Cool trick that I've learned as working with this, you know, with the stems, is if you heat this up with a lighter, it goes through almost like butter. And the cool part is, you know, like if I were to pierce it just with the awl itself, it could crack the stem and actually cause a crack, which later on could go all the way down the stem, damaging the stem, and you might have to do some repair work. So what I like to do is I like to take my lighter here, and what I'm going to do is I'm just going to heat the stem up. And I'm going to get the pretty hot, you know, pretty warm. And when I do that, it's just going to, you know, it'll pierce it right through. Now, before I do that, piercing these feathers, you know, like this is one way.
The only people that are allowed besides government officials are Native Americans to own an eagle feather.
Now, fancy ass bustles, you might want to go a little bit further, just depending on the style that you want.
Did he just say fancy ass?
Traditional bustles, since I'm not having a lot of room to work with, I'm just going to go right here. Now, if you're making fancy ass bustles, you don't want to keep the stem way out there, because after a while, the density of it tends to weaken. And plus, dancing fancy, you know, you're always jumping around. It could snap one of these really easily, and you don't want to drop one of these eagle feathers. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to pierce this kind of up high. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to heat this up. Get this all nice and hot. Get it sterilized. And it looks like it's getting pretty hot. Now I can get myself some tattoos. And alright. There. Now it looks pretty hot. I'm going to keep it as hot as I can get it. And I'm just going to, I want to keep it straight and see how it went perfectly through. I'm still eyeballing it straight all the way through. And see, it comes through. And like I said, you know, like once it's hot, it goes through really easy. Just like that. And you don't have to worry about it cracking the stem and stuff like that. And I think the heat actually gives it a little bit too. So I'm going to make sure it goes through on both sides. And now we have a perfect eyelet right there. Now all we got to do is interlace it with my other thread and put some beads in there for spacers. You're going to be doing this for every single feather. So now we're going to do a little close-up on showing how you interlace the bustle. At the bottom, you see I actually interlace it with a shoestring. This keeps the bustle together, and once you tie it tight, it holds the bustle and at the very bottom together. Here at the very top, I'm going to interlace my thread, actually spacing out with different size beads. Now, the feathers that I'm working with are different sizes. Eagle feathers are kind of known for that. So what I do is I usually lace them up with 2 to 3 to 1 style of beads, depending on the size of the feather. This kind of gives me the form and the shape that I'm looking for. So once I tie the knot at the very top, what I like to do is I like to lace another piece of string. That way I can tie it onto the backboard's poles. This will actually, you can bend these poles and actually shape the backboard to give the bustle a different kind of shape that is desired. That's pretty much what I do with all the styles of bustles that I make. Okay, now we'll come to the part where we're going to actually, well, if you see, I've already interlaced some of this already, but it's very simple. Take my pony beads, which I find, most craft stores. These ones are easy to find. I'm just going to go with the easy white color. Now, one thing I do as far as bustle making